Imagine a sudden movement in the woods, hoping to see a raccoon. You turn around only to find the deadliest beast charging in your direction. How would you react? Would you run away or pretend to be dead? Grizzly bears are among the most formidable predators, known for their immense power and adaptability in different habitats. They are highly skilled hunters, with a bite force surpassing that of a lion or a tiger. And when in the mood, they can use this bone-crushing bite to absolutely annihilate their prey. In this video, we are going to share the nail-biting details of a life-threatening encounter between two hunters and a grizzly bear. Safe to say, the boys put up an admirable defense. On September 1st, 2024, four boys, Riley Hill, Braxton Myers, Boone Myers, and another one of their friends went archery hunting for elk in the Caribou-Targhee National Forest. It is one of the largest forests in the U.S., stretching across the border of Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. The forest is home to diverse wildlife, including grizzly bears, elks, moose, mountain lions, and wolves. The boys had seen a lot of elks on their trail cams, so they were really hoping to hunt down at least one or two. That day could be the start of a successful hunting season for them. The adrenaline rush while hunting is always an exciting experience, and the boys were so ready for it. However, they had no idea what awaited them in the thick woods. Thoroughly planning the details of their hunt, the four boys set out on a razor into the still forest early in the morning. The sun was just rising, casting long shadows along the trail. Boone and his friend were supposed to search Schoolhouse Ridge, a 30-minute drive from the Continental Divide Trail. Braxton and Riley dropped them off at the ridge at almost 7 a.m. Then they trailed back to reach a small canyon. The forest creatures are always hyper-aware of their surroundings, and the hunters didn't want to scare them away. So they parked their razor on a hill and started hiking down, carefully looking for any signs of life around them, preferably an elk. After a hike of 20 minutes, they reached a clearing. In the dense forest, the clearing provided a moment of pause for the young boys. They carefully scanned the trees. Riley stepped forward, the leaves crunching beneath his boots, when he heard a sudden loud thud. Assuming his friend had tripped, he quickly turned around, ready to laugh. But instead of seeing him on the ground, he found him blankly staring into the woods. He heard Braxton yell, "Oh crap, that's a bear." Those words drained all color from Riley's face. That is when the two friends realized their elk hunting was about to turn into a fight for survival. Braxton could see a giant grizzly in the woods near him. The enormous size of the grizzly was terrifying. It was one of the biggest bears in the forest. The local ranchers had named it King of the Hill. Fall was about to begin, and bears mostly hibernate in fall and winter. So the king was peacefully digging up a hole to hide in during hibernation when the two hunters spooked him. It wouldn't have attacked them if they hadn't disturbed his digging. But the hunters had made a grave mistake by stepping foot in the bear's area, and it had fully decided to make them pay for it. It locked eyes with Braxton. It was as if the grizzly was plotting how to toy with its two new preys, deciding which parts to devour now and which to save for later. Before Braxton could strategize his escape, the grizzly was charging at him with full force and speed. It had gotten only a foot away from him, so close that if he extended his hand, he could have grabbed its head. Had it been a friendly little panda, he might have held it, maybe even considered cuddling it. But the giant coming for him was not a cute panda. It was a grizzly, clearly not in the mood for belly rubs or cuddles. In books, they tell you to play dead when encountered by a bear. But the hunter had other plans. He decided to bolt out of the situation so that he could buy Riley some time to get his gun out and shoot the bear. But before he could get away, he tripped and fell on the ground, making it easy for the bear to enjoy his meal. Instead of taking out his phone and filming the attack as most friends would, Riley passed on the opportunity to record some gold TikTok content. He took out his gun. It was a 10mm Springfield. With shivering hands, he shot the bear on the right side. Generally, once a grizzly locks on a target, it doesn't sway from it that easily. But this one did not like being distracted, so it decided to get rid of the distraction first. It left Braxton on the ground and charged towards Riley. They were about 12 feet away, and the giant could cover the distance in almost 3 leaps. Before its claws landed on Riley, he had the time to shoot the bear 3 more times in the face and shoulder region. Despite the 4 shots, the bear did not even limp. It was as if with each shot it got an adrenaline pump, which made him even more resilient. And then the bear decided to return the favor. It bit Riley right in the arm, grabbed him in its iron jaw, and flung him around as if he weighed nothing. It was a show of massive power. The scene resembled a dog playing with a toy, except this time the bear was 4 times the size of a dog, and instead of a lifeless doll, it was toying with a living human. Meanwhile, Braxton got up from the ground and saw the bear attacking his friend. He couldn't just stand by and let a bear devour his friend right in front of him, especially knowing he could be next. Mustering all the courage, he took out his Taurus 1911 45 ACP pistol. He fired 4 to 5 shots at the bear, but the bear did not even bother to look up. It was as if he was firing plastic bullets at it. After the initial shots, Braxton's gun jammed. Fate had it out for the 2 friends. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, but Braxton refused to let his nerves get the best of him. While the bear kept on swinging Riley, he quickly cleared the feed of his gun. By the time he was done fixing it, the bear was straddling his poor friend. Its front claws were digging into his shoulder, and his legs were under its stomach. The sharp claws of bears are made for digging, and this one was making full use of them to crush Riley with full force. The humongous body of the bear was fully covering Riley. Braxton couldn't see him moving under the bear. He could only see the enormous giant, and since it was busy ripping his friend, Braxton got the chance to walk near him. He kept on shooting him. Under the grip of the bear, Riley could feel the impact of the bullets hitting it. But the 530-pound predator did not even budge. Even the mightiest can fall, and the continuous bullets finally put a halt to the giant's power show. It looked up at Braxton to intimidate him with its fierce eyes, but he did not stop firing shots at it. He had only one thing in mind, and that was protecting his friend. But the impact of the bullets was not nearly enough for the grizzly to back down and run back to the woods. When it comes to fighting, the grizzlies make sure they are the last ones standing, and this one was certainly proving that point. It put its head back down, getting back to finish the job it had started. But then one of the bullets hit it in the spine. It pierced through the thick fur and flesh of the bear. That one did the job. It pierced through the thick fur and flesh of the bear. This caused the bear's muscles to spasm, and its grip on Riley loosened. It is hard to think straight when you are being crushed by a bear. But Riley acted quickly. He used his free hand to open its big jaw, almost ripping his arm out of its mouth. After freeing both his arms, he took the chance and dragged himself away from the bear. He was completely losing it, but he couldn't just stay there. There was a fair chance that the bear might get up and start hitting him again. He wanted it to be gone for good, so he picked up his gun and started shooting at its head hysterically. His actions were driven by fear. He had been so close to getting his head chopped off by the beast, and he did not want it to happen again. Riley's headshots made the bear collapse. His roars turned into groans, and the once mighty predator lay in the woods lifeless. At the time, Riley could not feel his injuries, but Braxton had seen the bear burrowing into him and biting into his arm. He asked Riley to take off his shirt and jacket, and as the boys examined the wounds, they knew it was bad. His arm was badly injured, and getting rescued from the middle of the woods was going to take some time, and the loss of blood could risk Riley's life. So, recalling the first aid techniques they had learned in summer camp, the boys managed to cover the wound with Riley's shirt. To stop the bleeding, they wrapped their belts in the form of a tourniquet. Then Braxton called 911. Boone and his friend had heard screaming and bullet shots from a mile away. Braxton shared the location with his brother, and he came rushing down to help them. When Boone arrived at the site, he was shocked to see the bear laying there lifeless, but he was relieved to see his 2 partners standing there alive. It would have been difficult for the rescuers to reach them in the middle of the densely packed forest, so they moved to an accessible location. They had to hike the trail to reach their razor. Hiking with severe injuries was painful for Riley, the worst hike of his life. After every couple of steps, blood spurted out of his wounds. His friends helped him, and then they reached the razor. The three of them hopped into the Razor and searched for a location where the rescue helicopter could land easily. Riley was airlifted to Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Hospital. His wounds were treated and the damage done by the bear was sealed with 40 staples and multiple stitches. The bite of Grizzly, despite being pretty painful, had failed to damage any arteries, and his vital organs were saved, and he could still move his arm and was released from the hospital after initial treatment. The doctors had predicted his full recovery time to be at least 2 months, but he was still happy and grateful that he was alive. This was one of the first human encounters in the national forest. It is illegal to harm bears since they fall under the Endangered Species Act. However, this was done for self-defense, so it was permissible. Authorities reported that the bear had been living in the hills for almost 20 years. It had been a threat to local farmers, and they were happy the two boys had taken it down. The boys were appreciated for their bravery and wisdom to pull out the right moves at the right time. Braxton and Riley expressed their deepest sorrow that they had to shoot down the king of the hill, but at the moment it was necessary. Their families were glad the boys were alive and they did not have to attend a funeral. This was the story of two friends unknowingly ending up in a life-or-death situation. Thankfully, the boys kept their composure during the encounter and were smart enough to tackle the bear down. While sharing the details with an interviewer, Riley said, "A lot of people say they'll take a bullet for a friend. Well, I got mauled by a bear for mine." The boys also shared that they wouldn't let this experience lower their spirits and that they would be happy to go on more adventures together. That day, their friendship was put to the test, and they proved they had each other's backs. The boys wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and share. For more such videos, subscribe to our channel and stay tuned.